Alright guys, so I have this Mopar block heater that I bought years ago actually. It's like 20 bucks. It comes standard on some Jeeps. There was an option you could have on. So I bought this 3 years ago and I've never really had a need for it. So I'm living in Missouri right now, but I'm actually moving to Alaska soon. So I'm finally going to put this to use and put it in. I got this thing for like 20 bucks. But yeah, it's really simple. It's literally just two parts and it came with a bunch of zip ties. Basically, what we got to do first is drain all of the coolant. So there's the really easy to access, let me get a light. There's this drain nipple right here. It's got like a twist valve and it opens up. That won't get all of the coolant out. There will still be coolant in the block. I haven't located it yet, but I did this once before a long time ago. I think it's somewhere right around there. There's a square plug. You need an 8mm square bit. And that will allow you to actually drain out the rest of all the coolant. I'll take another video in a second once I find it, but last time I did it I had regular stock fenders, so I don't know if it's going to be easier or harder, but I remember it being pretty difficult. We'll see. So I hope this isn't too hard to see, but you can see, so I've got my 8mm and a little 6" extension in it. So it's on the driver's side in between these two pre-cats right here, closer to the more forward one. Let's see if I can get this closer. Yeah, that's where we're looking. That's where the block drain hole is. 8mm square bit. Here's the square bit and the plug. When we reapply this, we're gonna put Loctite in the threads. Okay, so next step is finding the actual cord plug. Again, probably super hard to see, but they want you to use the foremost one on the driver's side. So I'm gonna try and do my best to get some light in there. So it's kind of it's like under the foremost exhaust header coming out of the one cylinder, and then like above this AC condenser. If you don't have AC, it'd probably be easier. But luckily for me, I don't know about stock fenders, but with these metal cloaks, again, it's probably really hard for you to see, but I'm under the fender well, right above the shock tower. So what you want to do is tap it with something. So like I'm gonna poke this long ass extension to it, hit the other end with the hammer, and you want to tap so it's a circle, right? You want to hit the bottom edge. So because if you hit it in the middle, you don't want this thing to go into the engine block. So if you hit it at the bottom edge, you're more likely to tilt the top forward. Then we're going to grab that top lip with pliers and pull it out. So again, I'm going to get this right through here on the bottom edge. You guys probably really can't see anything. And then tap it. Couldn't really get access to it, so I removed the power steering pulley. So with that, you're going to need a 1/2" socket that you fit in the belt tensioner right here. Just pull that, remove the belt, and then there are 3 1/2" bolts. You kind of rotate the pulley around and get at them that go in like here, and then you can pull this out. And hopefully, maybe see that a little better now. So again, I'm going to try and grab it. Looks like the top may not be sticking out enough, but I'm kind of afraid to hit a little more, but we'll see. Okay, a couple more things that I had to do. First, I undid that plug right there. Then I took off this coolant hose just with the vice grips. And then there's a 15mm bolt right there. I'll show it to you. So here it is. It was holding in this bracket that held the power steering pump, so I got that out. Then I had to use this contraption. So you can see here's the freeze plug. I had vice grips on it, to another vice grips to a slide hammer. What a bitch. But one piece of note that was absolutely vital that saved my engine is I kept this thing, which I used to punch the freeze plug in the first place, pressed against it. So there's like a little wall right behind where the freeze plug is. So and if that freeze plug drops in there, you're done. So I had this thing pressed in there, kind of pressing down, holding the freeze plug against the wall. So that way when I would drop it, which I did countless times, it would kind of go like this and be dangling, like held by this thing, and I would be able to squeeze my fingers in there and pull it, start it out the hole again, try and grab it again with the vice grips. But if I didn't have this, I certainly would have lost this in the engine many times. It would have been a disaster. But thank God, after hours, finally got this thing out. Alright, so next I just cleaned out the inside of that hole with a rag. So we're going to insert this. So we're going to put this thing should be pointing up, so it's going to kind of go like this into the engine. Then we're gonna, so before we do that, we're gonna lubricate that O-ring with some soap. I'm also going to it's a 5/32 hex bit to tighten that. And what I'm going to do to actually punch it in is use this 1 5/8 that fits nicely. So I'm going to lubricate it with soap, insert it, make sure it's all centered, and then punch it in with this bad boy. The plug, sorry, I've got it running up. Here's the wire, and you can see I got the plug right here. And that's pretty much it. Now we're just reassembling everything, and I'll go over the flushing process once I get there. When you retighten your power steering bolts, they go to 21 foot-pounds. So I've got this stuff all mounted up. I'm going to reroute the serpentine belt, plug up that the radiator valve, and then we got to put in that 8mm square bolt. So we have everything reassembled and we're ready to do our first flush. So you want to use distilled water. You can get this at like Walmart. It doesn't have any minerals like you'd get in tap water that might cause rust. So the entire system holds 10.5 quarts. So for the first flush, we're going to use all water. So that translates to 2 5/8 of a gallon that I'm going to put in. I'm going to turn the car on, run it until it'll probably boil over. Also, you should watch the level as you add it. So it's a self-bleeding system, so like it'll push the air out as in, so you might need to add more as you go. You're probably not going to be able to get 10.5 quarts in all at once. I'll let you know how it goes for me. But so we're going to put all that in, run it till it's hot and boiling over, and then we're going to drain it again fully. And ideally then you would repeat that process over and over until what you're draining looks like pure water. However, I actually just did this a few years ago, and I also, like, this is my daily driver. I know it's fine, so I'm just going to flush it once with water, regardless of how it comes out. If it looks green or whatever, like it still has some coolant in there, that'll be fine. And then all I'm going to do once I'm done with the flush is then put everything back together and fill it again, but this time with half distilled water and half antifreeze. So they recommend the specific G05 HOT, Hybrid Organic Acid Technology. I got this at AutoZone. See, it says right there, the HOT. So about half that, so 5.25 quarts of that, the rest with water. You can do more or less depending on where you live. I am moving to Alaska, so I might put a little more antifreeze. We'll see. Run your car up to operating temperature, make sure there are no leaks at the petcock on the radiator, the block heater itself, and that 8mm square block plug. And then, yeah, it should be good. Just refill if you need to. You can take the old antifreeze to your local hazardous waste, put it in the old jugs, and that's about it.